situation where, like I said, it comes down to the athlete. And you know, I'm a guy. I have too much respect for other fighters, man. You know, like you're risking your life in that ring. You know, that's why I lose all respect for guys that I think are cheating against guys that are clean. You know what I mean? I think there's been times in boxing, and I'm not going to name any names, but fighters maybe, you know, do it to get even the playing field against a guy they might think is cheating. You know, and I'm not going to say that that's right, but at the end of the day, you're going to risk your life. You know what I mean? You're going to even the playing field. At day's end, I don't have the heart to come in dirty against somebody who is sitting there being clean. You know, these guys, everybody got a family to go home to, everybody got a life to go home to. So at day's end, you know, I respect boxers too much to be a dirty fighter. And so regardless of who I'm working with, Memo's still a genius in what he does, and there's clean ways to be able to do it. And based on the workouts that he had me doing yesterday and today, it's been some, I wouldn't say it's fun all the time. You know, I was really, really out of breath, but at the same time, it tests you, and it tests you physically and mentally. And those are the kind of things you want to do. You know, you want new challenges in your life, and you know, bring on the new challenges for me.
What made you choose him? I know, as reasons, strength and conditioning coaches. What specifically made you kind of target Memo a little bit?
I had met Memo when I was here in January. I'm friends with John Pascal, and he was working with John for the Kovalev fight. So we just talked, and then, you know, we didn't really keep in touch or anything like that. And then he hit me up on Twitter recently. He said, "Hey man, you know, if you're really serious about fighting again, hit me up. You know, I really feel like I can help you and whatnot." So we talked and whatnot. You know, I always felt like, you know, maybe I needed a little bit of more help in my career if I'm gonna continue to fight. Just more intelligence and whatnot, and the way I treat my body, because I'm 34 years old, and there's got to be ways of working out properly where I'm not overworking myself, but yet working out hard enough to get the most out of the workouts. And so I feel like an intelligent guy like that will know how. You know, at day's end, you know, people are gonna create their opinions all they want. You know, but you know, it's all about, like I said, it all comes down to the athlete and what the athlete wants to do. And like I said, I have too much respect for fighters to be that way, and I really mean that from the bottom of my heart, man. I mean, I think I've seen fighters that were clean going in with dirty fighters, and that I felt were dirty fighters, and you know, they're good fighters, but they're sitting there like sitting ducks. You know, boxing can be a dirty place, you know, and fans choose their favorites in fights as fighters, and then they don't want to believe that maybe that guy might be on something, or maybe that guy might not be on something, or whatnot. At day's end, you're victimized if you come in the ring clean against a guy who's dirty, and you know, I have too much respect for other fighters. You know, at the end of the day, it's a blood sport, it's a combat sport, but you don't want to put people more in jeopardy than they already are just by stepping in the ring.
Paulie, real quick follow up on that. In UFC, they started random drug testing, and all these guys started popping main fights.
Yeah.
Now they're doing 365 random drug testing.
Yeah.
If boxing started random drug testing, how big of a problem do you think it would be? And do you feel that boxing should find a way to have random drug testing all year long?
I really feel like boxing, you would hope, can, and maybe one day it will. And I think it would be more of a problem than people think. You know, I know people get on my case like anytime somebody's good, I say they're on something, but it's not really about anytime somebody's good. You know, I'm not a body expert. People look at me like, "Oh, this guy's on something. Look at his body." That's not what I specialize in, bro. If you're fighting at a ridiculous pace and you're fighting at bringing your punching power up multiple weight classes over. You look at the history of boxing, you know, like when guys move up in weight, there's things they have to do to compensate for the lack of punch power they're going to bring up, or they have to respect defensively the other fighters' punching power because they're fighting naturally bigger guys. You know, the things you see nowadays, it's kind of crazy. You know, I think if you do random drug testing 365 days a year, you'll never see the things you're seeing in this generation again. You didn't see them before. You never saw these things before. You say old-time fighters fought in different weight classes. Old-time fighters were limited. That's the problem based on boxing. They think old-time fighters are better than today's fighters. No, they're not. Yeah. Watch the fight. You watching the same fight. I'm watching these guys. Wide punches, more room for error and whatnot. So, you know, maybe you can do it a little more when there's more room for error. There's less room for error nowadays. So, you know, I think if you do,
promoters though, in different organizations, do you ever see a way that boxing could implement random drug testing?
You know, the UFC is able to do it because it's a league, and you know, you basically just sign into the UFC. You sign into the UFC, and you're part of that league, so to speak. And then from there, that's when, you know, there's pros and cons to a league, and one of the pros is, you know, you can implement random drug testing, and everybody will have to go through it and submit to it if you're going to be a part of that league. And the cons to have in the league is what's happening in UFC, where fighters probably get underpaid and they deserve more money. So there's pros and cons to everything. You would hope that they figure out a way with the random drug testing. And like I said, you'll never see this again. And it doesn't mean that today's fighters are going to be the best ever. Some people are going to think like, oh, the records we saw today in these days, oh, that guy was amazing. Was he amazing or was it something else? So because once they implement random drug testing, it's just like baseball. You never see the amount of home runs that were getting hit at one time. You stop seeing it and you'll never see it again. Fans got to stop being fans once in a while and just think outside the box and understand what's going on.
Getting back to Mayweather Pacquiao, we've seen some fights where Mayweather tends to fight a little bit more, like he did with Cotto, Maidana first. We've seen other fights where he comes in and boxes. Do you expect Mayweather to be on his bicycle, kind of moving more, or how do you expect him to
I think somebody like Cotto forced Mayweather to fight more than he wanted to. I think somebody like Maidana forced Mayweather to fight more than he wanted to. I think when Floyd fights a dangerous puncher, he doesn't fight with them by choice. I think the fights that he's taken on by choice, where he got hit a little bit more early on in his career, maybe DeMarcus Corley, I think he made that choice to fight that way. Emmanuel Augustus, he made that choice to fight that way. But I think the heavier punchers, I don't think he makes that choice. I think they're good enough fighters. They've been good enough fighters to force him to fight a certain way. So, for the fight to be exciting, it's going to have to come down to Manny being good enough to forcing Floyd to fight a certain way.
How does he force him to fight that way?
He's going to have to figure out a way to cut range and cut distance in a sneaky way to where he can smoothly transition his distance into his offensive flow. And if he doesn't do that, he's going to get clipped coming in, which doesn't necessarily translate to a Marquez-style knockout, but what it'll do is it'll disrupt your timing. You get clipped with pot shots on your way in, it'll disrupt the combination. You won't get the combination off. You may only get the first one or two shots of the combination off, and then it'll fizzle out because you got disrupted with a change of distance, or you got disrupted with a counter pot shot or whatnot. So I think Manny has to be very effective in the way he transitions his distance and gets close.
Paulie, do you think people don't give Floyd enough credit for being a fighter? Because we see the persona, we see what he does in the ring finesse, but he's always said, people, I'm a fighter, I've been fighting my whole life. Do you think people don't give him enough credit? Like we saw with the Cotto fight.
I think I really bring it down to ignorance. I think it's easier to appreciate a guy like Mike Tyson, who was very exciting. It's easier to appreciate a guy like Manny Pacquiao. It was very exciting because they go for it. They go for the gusto. They go for the knockout. But when you're truly, really effective, it tends to be boring because you're so good. Somebody like Vladimir Klitschko is really effective, but it's boring. Somebody like Floyd Mayweather is really effective. Sometimes it's boring. When you're so good, you eliminate the exciting factor of it because there's nothing to think about, nothing to worry about for the fans. Like, oh man, what's going to happen now? So I think they can't understand that, and ignorance can never understand. I give people the example of me with art. You take me to an art museum, I look at a splattered paint on a wall. To me, it looks like somebody took a paint bucket they bought at Home Depot and just threw it against the wall, and you tell me it's worth $1 million. I can't appreciate that. I'm ignorant to the art. I'm ignorant to that fact, and I'll admit I'm ignorant to it. I think too many boxing fans don't realize how ignorant they are. Too many people in the media center, in the media, don't realize how ignorant they are. They consider themselves experts because they watch a fight every week. There's literally people in media, people in boxing, fans that have watched boxing 30, 40 years and wasted their whole life. Like, you've been watching something, you don't even have a clue what you're watching. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, dude, I would have quit a long time ago. If I was watching something that I didn't understand, like golf or something, like I don't understand golf, I quit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it, so I quit. Like, how do you watch something for years on top of years and have no clue what you're watching? Not only you should be ashamed of yourself, go get another hobby, dude, because this ain't for you. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think that comes down to the non-appreciation of Floyd Mayweather and his boxing style. You don't have to like the guy for what he does or what he says or who he is and whatnot, but as far as on a pure boxing standpoint, Floyd Mayweather is very good, and there's a lot of things that people don't pick up on.
Paulie, 10 years from now, will we remember him differently? Will things change? Because right now we criticize him. I'm sure Sugar Ray Leonard got criticized today, but
like Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, 5 years from now, will we appreciate finally like, man, we miss Floyd.
I think Floyd will probably be appreciated more when he's gone, but I don't think he'll ever be appreciated the way he should. Like, he's probably gonna, I'll tell you, Saturday night he's probably gonna beat Manny Pacquiao pretty easily, and then it'll probably be something else that people will come up with to complain about him. So unfortunately, Floyd is almost enslaved to the fact that people just are never gonna understand his style fully. People want to see you get up off the canvas. People want to see you in trouble. People want to see you have to overcome adversity. Floyd has overcome adversity. It's just been subtle adversity. He has never had to get up off the canvas or been behind on the scorecards like Ray Leonard. With Ray Leonard, it wasn't so subtle. It was very much in front of your eyes, and Ray Leonard proved it. That's how amazing Ray Leonard was as a fighter, and we appreciate it because he proved it. I think Floyd Mayweather's the things he's had to overcome have been very subtle. You know, there's been moments in fights, you know, in the Miguel Cotto fight, the Marcos Maidana fight, even the Jose Luis Castillo fight in the rematch. Those are subtle moments where he's going through a tough time in the ring, but the way he's overcoming it is so subtle that you can't appreciate what he's the mental capacity that he's got in there, and the fact that he's subtly turning it around, and how hard that is. Because maybe you're not seeing blood, or maybe you're not seeing him get up off the canvas, get up off his ass off the canvas. But he's suffering in that moment, and he's got to turn things around, but he's subtly doing it. So the ignorant person will never understand how subtly he's doing it and still being effective. And you got to give him credit, because subtle doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it's happening and you don't understand it's happening.